Hey everybody, Saul Marquez with the Outcomes Rocket. I want to welcome you back to our podcast. Today, I have the privilege of hosting Dr. Fatima Paruk. She is a physician turned consultant turned technologist, currently serving as Salesforce Chief Health Officer and Senior Vice President of Industry Advisory for HLS. She brings her experience as a practicing physician, Chief Medical Officer, and clinical technology consultant to make impacts in this space that we all dedicate our lives to. Fatima, so glad that you could join us today.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. This is so appreciated. I always love being able to chat to folks who are at the cutting edge, right? And being able to document some of this stuff. So this is such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you for having me.
Privileged to have you as well. And so we're really excited about the work that Salesforce is doing in the space to make things like omni-channel marketing possible, to help customers keep their information in order. But, before we dive into that and even the health event that's coming up, tell us a little bit about you and what is it that inspires your work in the healthcare space?
It's so interesting that you have me on the Outcomes Rocket, because ultimately my goal is to impact as many possible outcomes as I can. I am a physician by training. I certainly found a knack for being in the tech space at somewhere along the way. But I also am a public health practitioner. And for me, it's about making a scalable difference. And technology is a huge part of that. It's it's a piece that you absolutely cannot scale without. And if you're thinking about driving ultimate outcomes, you can't actually do it without being scalable.
Today, we rely on things like technology to take care of some of the biggest problems, like the workforce challenges that we're faced with. Talk to us a little bit about what you guys are doing lately that really helps add value to the healthcare ecosystem in light of some of those challenges.
Yeah. So at Salesforce, we are doing some very interesting things. We cover 4 major areas of the market. And so I'm going to call them care, provider, med tech, and then life sciences, pharma. And we see unique opportunities that are slightly different in all of those key areas. But one thing that is absolutely binding that brings all these areas together is the power of being able to manage and optimize relationships. So as many of you know or don't know, Salesforce is a CRM company. And when you think about the potential for healthcare in the provider space, that might be the patient relationship, right? Or the provider relationship, or the network relationships. In the life sciences space, when you think about the relationship there, often it is the clinical trial participant, right? It's thinking about how we manage relationships with those who are administering the clinical trials. In the med tech world, and it's the suppliers and the consumers of supplies that need the relationships managed. And so if you think about all the opportunities that we have to improve those relationships, ultimately drive cost efficiency, ultimately drive trust and trusted relationships, I honestly believe that's a huge key to driving outcomes.
I'm so glad that you're so focused on relationships, Fatima, because that is the core of what we do. And oftentimes we get lost in the tech. We get lost in the chatter of what's new. And at the end of the day, it is about relationships. So, maybe this is a good opportunity to preview, what you'll be doing at Health. And if Health already happened, folks, you want to learn about this too, because it's pretty cool.
One of the key things in healthcare that's often missing today is, again, just figuring out how we double down on that trusted relationship. That's not so easy to do, specifically maybe in the provider space, where the physician-patient interaction in person often is only, in 10, 15 minutes? There is just no time to actually think about how we utilize that very tiny window of opportunity to generate the trust that needs to power the rest of the relationship. And then again, ultimately the outcomes. And so technology is a huge part of it. And the technology needs to be working for us versus we as the clinicians or we as patients having to do the work for the technology. And there's something in there that if we can leverage the power of artificial intelligence today to actually create more time and space to drive those trusted relationships versus, again, just me being in there tapping, tapping, tapping on a keyboard and typing things in versus focusing on my patient on a day-to-day basis. Or if we can leverage this technology to do a lot of those administrative tasks that we spend so much time on the phone. Maybe it's with the health insurance company thinking about prior authorization and saying, hey, I need coverage for these 5 reasons. If that can be automated and be taken off of my plate altogether, and we can go back to actually just thinking about how we focus on building trusted relationships and driving great relationships, which will ultimately drive the outcomes, that to me is a win. So we've got to be able to leverage the technology. And as it relates to health, we're going to be doing a little bit of exploration here on what it means to take ChatGPT, which has been all the rave over the last 6 to 12 months, I'd say. We've seen a huge amount of demand, both in and out of healthcare. And we're going to see if we can hack this for health and try to figure out how it should or maybe should not be utilized in the space of healthcare, which is highly regulated, highly complex, and obviously first needs to do no harm.
The thing I love about Salesforce and the health meeting is that always at the forefront, right? Always at the forefront. And you can't run away from the things that need to be talked about. So I'm excited, Fatima, that you're having this discussion with the crowd there at Health. I'm excited to be in your session and really kind of be part of the unfolding, both the good and things that we should be looking out for. As you think about these technologies that have so much promise for us, what would you say is one of them that you would say we need to be thinking about as the most potential for healthcare and outcomes in the future?
I think what's amazing about health specifically is you've got a bunch of disruptors who are willing to come together, collaborate, and have some of these really hard conversations and challenge one another on what it means to be novel and disruptive in a good way. One thing that I am incredibly excited about, and we most recently just announced this from a Salesforce perspective at Dreamforce, is that we are making significant investments in a life sciences cloud. So we are in the process of releasing something brand new that is absolutely necessary for the life sciences space. Again, we're looking at how we best manage relationships, but ultimately the cost of taking a new drug to market today is somewhere in the range of $1 to $2 billion. And a lot of that cost is front loaded, right? Where you need to do a heck of a lot of research up front and try to figure out if there is actual market potential for something new and novel. And I think artificial intelligence can actually make a huge impact right there in terms of reducing some of the cognitive burden that the individuals need to take on as we think about being able to make strides and do a lot of that baseline research to ensure that we can bring new and novel technologies or disruptive technologies to market. I think there's a huge amount of potential. There's more to come. I don't want to give away too much on where this is headed, but it's certainly an area of a lot of buzz, and I'm incredibly excited about.
Well, huge value there. And certainly a big opportunity for us to learn more. So folks, make sure you stay tuned. We'll be interacting again with Dr. Fatima Paruk. So make sure you stay with us. And if there's any way that people can stay in touch or learn more about the things that you guys are up to, Fatima, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, we're certainly going to be accessible. We're going to be on site and ready and willing to meet with folks. PR@salesforce.com is how we'll manage a lot of the requests. But thank you so much. And again, I'm looking forward to speaking to as many interesting, amazing disruptors as possible.
Likewise. Thanks for being with us today.